It's time for your local Farm News Week in Review here on AM 960 KLTF. This week in Farm News, farmers and agricultural professionals can hear about the latest nutrient management research regarding fertilizer use efficiency at the 6th Annual Minnesota Crop Nutrient Management Conference on Monday, February 9th at the Verizon Wireless Center in Mankato. The conference will examine current nutrient management issues in a rapidly changing production environment. The program will focus on nitrogen and phosphorus management from commercial fertilizers and animal manures. Speakers will provide an in-depth approach to various management practices for these important nutrients. Sessions will also address fertilizer industry trends, micronutrients, and the effects of cover crops and changing weather on fertilizer management. Speakers include fertilizer industry professionals, staff from the U.S. Department of Agriculture's Agricultural Research Service, and extension research specialists from Iowa State University, North Dakota State University, the University of Illinois, University of Minnesota, and the University of Wisconsin. The conference is organized by the Minnesota Agricultural Water Resources Center. U.S. researchers have identified a new strain of a hog disease that has wiped out millions of baby pigs, a sign the virus will keep mutating as producers work to contain it. A third strain of the porcine epidemic diarrhea virus, also known as PEDV, was detected in a Minnesota hog herd and found to be at least as virulent as the original strain that emerged in the United States in early 2013. It is also the nature of the viruses like the PEDV to evolve as they replicate. PEDV has killed at least 8 million pigs, roughly 10% of the U.S. hog population in the past 2 years. The pork supply reduction was largely responsible for pushing prices to record highs. It is unknown how the virus, which causes extreme diarrhea in piglets, came to the United States. It was previously found in parts of Asia and Europe. The impact on hog production from the emergence of the new strain, which was first identified last year, is unclear. It could have existed in the United States without being detected since as early as 2013, or could be a new mutation according to experts. Hog producers need to take the same precautions to prevent the new strain from spreading as they did for the previous two strains, including washing trucks and other equipment. Researchers previously determined that PEDV can spread from pig to pig by contact with manure, which contains the virus. It can also be spread from farm to farm on trucks. PEDV is not a threat to humans or food safety, this according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. The 2015 legislative session kicked off this week. We spoke with Doug Peterson, president of the Minnesota Farmers Union, about some of the issues that they'll be addressing during the session, like transportation.
Farm-to-market roads are very important for farmers getting their products. We need to take the pressures off the railroads, but at the same time, we need to repair and upgrade bridges and roads. And the other part, we need to make sure that the funding is fair and adequate with Metro and then also the rural farmers and rural people.
Peterson also talked about the issue of GMO labeling and the declining bee population.
We'll be looking at, I think, issues that are going to grab a lot of attention. There's going to be GMO labeling, and there's going to be pollinators. And pollinators are the bees, and there's been a lot of talk about death of a lot of beehives, in other words, the die-off syndrome within the bee population, and that's going to be in front of the legislature. Probably hear a lot about that. And then the labeling of GMOs, there's going to be a proposal to have a state label products with GMOs and also information about the presence of genetically modified ingredients. So that's going to be up. And then another one, probably a spin-off from the medical marijuana, will be the industrial hemp, and that basically would allow farmers to cultivate and harvest industrial hemp in Minnesota. It's an absolute different kind of plant and medical marijuana plant. And a lot of farmers in our neighboring country to the north, Canada, are already harvesting and marketing industrial hemp. It's been in the legislature for a number of years. It looks like it's got bipartisan support. So another market, another potential for farmers as a crop to grow. The other issue on hemp is that it is used for paper. As a matter of fact, I believe our Constitution is written on hemp.
Peterson also talked about a federal judge's recent decision to overturn a U.S. Fish and Wildlife decision to delist the gray wolf from the federal endangered species list.
There is, of course, a lot of people know that wolf depredation and the hunting issue of wolves, a judge has declared that wolves will go back on the endangered species list, and it'll be quite some time before there will be another hunting season just because of the mechanics of the court and appeals and all of that. We have sent a letter to U.S. Fish and Wildlife to appeal the judge's decision on wolf hunting, but the issue ends up if you have a wolf take an animal, livestock on your farm, you need to have the compensation and you need to have the reporting be seamless so that farmers can apply for the depredation funds. And that's a federal and state issue, and we want to make sure that that's still an ongoing, even if there is no wolf hunting season.
Minnesota Farmers Union President Doug Peterson talking about some of the issues that they'll be addressing in the upcoming legislative session. With the legislative session starting on Monday and Tuesday, Minnesota Farm Bureau President Kevin Pepp talked about some of the issues they'll be addressing in the 2015 legislative session, like taxes.
Well, it seems like every year we've got some of the same issues, and taxes is always one of those. Property taxes and what property tax funds as it deals with education, school, bonding, things like that. But also on the regulation side of it, some concerns with duplication of regulations, making sure that the state of Minnesota does the water quality stuff, waters of the U.S., and not the EPA.
Pap also talked about how Minnesota Farm Bureau is going to continue to push for streamlining of regulations.
We're going to continue to work on streamlining of regulations. So we've kind of got that one-stop shop, having to deal with 2 or 3 or 4 or more different agencies to get a permit to do normal business isn't efficient. It isn't effective government. So continue to work on that regulatory reform to make sure we know what the rules are. Those rules are based on input from all the stakeholders in a transparent process. But once the rules are, please let's not change the rules in the middle of the game.
Minnesota Farm Bureau President Kevin Pepp talking about some of the issues that the Farm Bureau will be addressing in the 2015 legislative session. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's Rural Development currently has funds available for very low and low-income residents of rural Minnesota that are interested in purchasing a home or for current homeowners in need of essential repairs. Rural Development's Single Family Housing Section 502 program offers subsidized loans with affordable monthly payments in rural areas. Home loans may be used to purchase a new home, existing home, or build a new home. To qualify, applicants must meet Rural Development's income limits, which are have adequate and dependable income, have an acceptable credit history, be unable to attain sufficient credit from other sources, and show repayment ability. For loan eligibility, applicants must also have an acceptable credit history, show repayment ability, and be unable to afford a conventional loan and live in a community with a population of 20,000 or less. The maximum loan is $20,000, repayable over 20 years with a 1% interest rate. For more information, contact your local rural development office or go to www.rurdv.usda.gov. I'm speaking with Beth Berlin, University of Minnesota Extension horticulturist and local foods expert for the University of Minnesota Extension in Morrison, Stearns, and Benton counties. We're talking about the 2015 Local Foods College that the Extension is going to be putting on. Beth, what was the purpose for the Local Foods College?
Right. The Local Foods College started up, or this will be the 4th annual, and the idea behind it is really to help those growers out there who are trying to produce locally grown foods for, say, farmers markets or things of that nature, and to assist them in being successful at it.
How did this come about?
Right. A few years ago, they really just found that there was a need and a demand for this. And so here in Morrison County, we know that there's a demand with these local growers, and they've discovered the most efficient and best way to do it is to have it through webinars where individuals can do it from the comforts of their own homes Or here in Morrison County, we're actually going to offer a host site at the Morrison County Government Center when this begins.
And you mentioned the webinars in the Government Center. When does the college start?
The college starts next week on Tuesday, January 13th. 6 o'clock sharp is when the session will kick off. And we ask that people register for the course. It's simply to keep track of them and then also allow them to, like I said, re-watch the webinars at home if they would like to.
So who are going to be some of the presenters involved with the college?
Right. There's a wide variety of extension educators and professionals. For example, there's someone dealing with native pollinators. So Carl Ford, who I've worked with quite a bit in the past, is an extension educator in horticulture, and he's just going to express the importance of the pollinators and what farmers can do to have them be successful with their own crops.
What are some of the topics that are going to be covered during the college?
Right. It's an 8-week course, and so some of the topics are soil fertility, vegetable production, marketing and business planning, pollination, deep winter greenhouses, growing in small spaces, food hubs, and then farm to bottle.
Definitely interesting, and hopefully people can come out and check it out. If they want to know more about it, say they're not really sure who to talk to, or just they have questions, who can they get in contact with?
They can give me a call, and they can contact the Morrison County Extension Office. The phone number is 632-0161, and I'd be happy to answer any questions and help them register.
All right, we've been speaking with Beth Berlin, University of Minnesota Extension Service horticulture educator, about the local food college that will be starting up next Tuesday, January 13th, 6 p.m. at the Morrison County Government Center. Thank you so much for your time today, Beth.
Thank you.
And that concludes this week's Farm News Week in Review here on AM 960 KLTF. Farm news available 24/7 at fallsradio.com. This is Farm Director Scott Colombe saying, thanks for listening.